money makes you more of what you already are.
Is it actually success if somebody's out there making more money, but everything else is falling apart and they're not actually fulfilled? No.
Welcome to episode 1 of What I Wish They Told Me, where we interview successful business owners and ask one simple question. If you had the opportunity to go back and visit your younger self at any point in the timeline, where would you go and what wisdom would you share?
There's going to be only 2 kinds of jobs available for our kids. Jobs that are above the API, which means you give orders to the computer, and most jobs below, which means the computer is giving you orders. And so if you want to teach very valuable skills to your kids, I would say it's important to give them opportunities to be above the API.
It's interesting because half the time, I think their ideas are just better than mine. As adults, you kind of get into these preconceived notions, right? Kind of limit your brain, whereas a kid doesn't have those. A kid can look at something and it's really a blank slate.
You matter, and you do have a lot more potential, and you are just as smart as anyone else.
But the one thing that's going to be more important than anything is helping that human being find purpose in their life. Because once they do that, everything else becomes lighter.
While we can't go back in time and share wisdom with our younger selves, we have the opportunity, the obligation even, to share that wisdom with our youngest kids today.
The key to life, as I see it, is to find the things that you're great at and then build your life around those things.
The depression goes away, the heaviness goes away.
Personality. I show my fun side. They get the very serious, sick grown, yeah, this is how you do it, tough love. And then, I'm wearing a different dress every day. Let's have fun. It's so important. So important to have fun.
I think girls are often not necessarily given that same message of entrepreneurialism the same way that boys or young men certainly are.
No matter what other people tell you or whatever, your grades or everything tell you, it's like you have a whole lot of potential.
Playing big doesn't come from working more, pushing harder, or finding confidence. It comes from listening to the most powerful and secure parts of yourself, not the voice of self-doubt.
By the time I was 19, I was pretty sure that death was the only way to end the pain. It was one of those times where I feel like God decided to put his hand upon my shoulder.
I heard a preacher actually where he was talking about the fall doesn't hurt. What hurts is the crash landing.
Pain without a purpose is literally torture, but pain with a purpose is progress.
With every hardship, keep asking, how can I use this to be a better person?
When you're in the right environment, whether it's with your parents, whether it's with peers and colleagues, if you have someone or something to catch you when you fall, then falling is not bad.
There's decisions I would have changed, but I also think that the decisions, even the bad decisions, are what helps you learn.
I call them bonus kids, as in sometimes they might come over at 2 a.m. when they have an issue. Like one of them wants extra chicken and chia seeds, so they put them on our family grocery list that we have on the fridge. I give them household chores if they're here. They're not my children. They don't call me mom. I'm not their mom. I'm just an extra person who loves them in their lives.
There's a thin line between confidence and arrogance. And if you cross it from confidence over to arrogance, you lose more people than you gain in your life, usually.
I hate to use the term problem solver because that, to me, you're attracting problems in your life, right? I like solution seeker, right, better. And so to me, it's like, I'm a solution seeker.
We all talk about those moments when an idea pops into our head, right? Oh, that would be great. We should create that. We should do this. We should do that. We draw on the whiteboard.
You can create a business over the course of a weekend. That's the aha moment. Doesn't matter if this business is the big one or not. All that matters is you see that you can go from zero to business over the course of a weekend and get your first customer, your first client.
When it's real, when it hits you in the gut as something powerful, that's a pure message from the Spirit. And if we don't act upon that or do something about that, we're acting against the Spirit. We're acting against our own selves and our own creation.
I'm your host, Stephen Warner, and this first episode is going to be short and sweet. So the first question for today is, why? It's the most important question. Why does this podcast exist? What purpose does it serve? Why should you listen? Our kids are growing up in a world more uncertain than we have ever seen before. The economy feels unstable. College is getting more expensive. Jobs are getting harder to find. Technology is making things more complicated. And our kids are growing up with a feeling of constant anxiety about what the future might or might not hold for them. Now, what most kids don't realize is that their parents Us, we're feeling just as much anxiety about it as they are. We just don't want them to see it. Now, here's a scary stat. Did you know that within the next 5 years of recording this episode, within 5 years, artificial intelligence is projected to replace 30% of existing human jobs? Some studies are optimistic. They say, hey, in the past, when technology would replace jobs, it would always create more. That's what we've always seen. People would get into different industries. People would get into tech. But there's one problem. What happens when a computer becomes smarter than a human in almost every way? What happens when AI can do an entire job better than any human while working 24/7 without taking breaks, without complaining, and without asking for a raise? As a matter of fact, it just keeps getting cheaper. I'll tell you what happens. Human employees become obsolete. And that's why this podcast exists, to help you teach kids how to create their own jobs rather than gamble on a future job market that might not exist for them. And most importantly, to ensure that our kids have a sense of purpose, care about the things that matter, that they aren't obsessed with money, but really are just excited about the good things they can do for the world through money, that they discover and embrace who God created them to be, that they don't live life afraid, and that in the midst of the crazy and scary time that we're experiencing right now, that our kids are able to find joy and fulfillment. I'm glad you've joined us for this first episode. And before we go any further,